Hi everyone, I'm Alex, and today we're going to delve into another true crime story together. Ana Walsh was born on April 18, 1983, in Belgrade, the capital of Serbia. Her academic journey led her to the 5th Belgrade Gymnasium, where she excelled as one of its standout students. Ana then went on to study at the University of Belgrade, focusing on foreign languages and earning a master's degree in French language and literature. At 22 years old, Ana decided to move to the United States to pursue new career opportunities in hospitality management. She worked at prestigious hotels, such as the Inn at Little Washington in Virginia, and quickly rose through the ranks due to her warmth, approachability, and ability to resolve conflicts. Ana's charm and charisma helped her build strong connections with colleagues and friends. In the United States, Ana became a citizen while retaining her Serbian nationality. She enjoyed a successful career, eventually becoming a senior manager at the Wheatley Hotel in Lenox, Massachusetts. It was there that she met Mark Knipp, the head chef, and the two fell in love. They got married in 2009. Brian Walsh was born in July 1975 in Boston, Massachusetts, to a well-known, wealthy, and respected family. His father, Thomas Walsh, was a renowned neurologist at a leading hospital in the state, where he also taught at a prestigious medical university. From a young age, Brian was a spoiled child, enjoying a life of luxury and privilege. He attended top private schools, wore expensive clothes, and lived comfortably. Despite his parents' efforts to provide him with a good education, Brian struggled to stay enrolled in the prestigious colleges his father had arranged for him. However, he was not lacking in intelligence. Known for his cunning and aggressive nature, Brian always found a way to get what he wanted. Brian had a strong desire for money and luxury, often borrowing money from friends without returning it. The relationship between Brian and his father became strained when Brian fraudulently withdrew a large sum of money from his father's account and disappeared with it. Despite his father's attempts to reconcile, Brian refused to return the money, leading to a rift in their relationship. However, when his father passed away, Brian emerged and took legal action, alleging that the will had been forged by the doctor's widow and younger children to cheat him out of his rightful inheritance. He was unable to prove his claims or receive any part of the estate. In 2014, Brian met Ana, who was working as a senior reservation manager at a hotel in Massachusetts, while still married to Mark Knipp, who also worked at the hotel. Despite Ana being married, Brian pursued her relentlessly, obtaining her phone number and home address. He harassed her constantly, leading the Knipp to seek police protection against his relentless advances. Brian called Ana at work, sent messages to her personal phone, and demanded that she leave her husband for him. The situation became more serious when Walsh threatened to harm Ana and her husband if she did not leave with him. What happened afterwards is unclear, including why Ana eventually changed her mind. However, a year after seeking police protection from Walsh, she unexpectedly divorced her husband, shortly after Brian became her second husband. The couple settled in a luxurious home in Cohasset, Massachusetts, about 20 miles southeast of Boston. They had 3 sons in quick succession, who were 6, 4, and 2 years old at the time of their mother's disappearance. Ana continued to work at Tishman Speyer as a regional general manager, balancing her career with motherhood. She also purchased a home in Washington, D.C., where she stayed during business trips. Meanwhile, Brian was unemployed and seeking easy sources of income, as the money he had taken from his father was running out. Everything Ana acquired was in her name, and Brian was not contributing financially to the family. Once Walsh's friend asked for his help in selling several paintings by the famous artist Andy Warhol. Brian agreed eagerly, but instead of just selling the artworks for a commission, he decided to profit from the transaction. Walsh assessed each painting, got the necessary documentation, including authenticity certificates, and then made copies of both the paintings and the documents. He approached artists who could make precise replicas of the paintings, convincing them that he needed backups, since each original was worth around $250,000. For years, he successfully sold fake paintings as originals to collectors from different countries, until one buyer, an art expert specializing in Warhol's work, identified a forgery and sued Walshy. The FBI investigated, and in April 2021, Walshy pleaded guilty to selling counterfeit art. As part of a deal negotiated by his lawyer, he was put under house arrest and had to return the proceeds from the sale of the paintings to the buyers to avoid prison time. Walshy's movements were restricted, but he was allowed to drive his children to and from school twice a day. In the mornings, he had 2.5 hours to go to approved stores, pharmacies, dry cleaners, and other essential places in his area. On December 31, 2022, the Walshy family was getting ready to celebrate the new year together at home. Only the parents and their 3 sons were present. The boys went to bed early due to their young age, leaving Anna and Brian alone at the dinner table. Anna posted on social media that day, sending greetings and mentioning that the year had been tough, but she and her husband were still strong together. Anna was supposed to fly to Washington, D.C. for work on January 3rd, but on January 4th, her employer, Tishman Speyer, reported her missing to the police. She had missed work, failed to close an important deal, and her phone was unreachable for days. Brian also reported her missing separately, worried that he hadn't been able to contact her. He said he last saw Anna on January 1st, when she woke him up early to go to work. He believed she went to the airport with only a few things. However, there were inconsistencies in the case. Anna didn't book a flight for January 1st or cancel her flight for January 3rd. She didn't show up at the airport on those days either. It was unclear how she left the house, since her car was still in the garage and she didn't call a taxi. Brian suggested she might have hitchhiked, but this seemed unlikely. His statements and behavior raised suspicions. He didn't seem bothered by the situation and only reported her missing after more than 3 days, and only after her workplace got involved. From the beginning, Brian was considered a prime suspect, but law enforcement did not have enough evidence to arrest him or obtain a search warrant for his family home. They conducted a brief search with his permission, but found nothing incriminating. Brian claimed he had been leading a normal life during the 3 days in question, running errands and doing chores. However, verifying his alibi proved to be challenging. He often left his phone at home, claiming his children would take it to play games without his permission. On January 5th, the police made a public appeal on television for information about Anna's whereabouts, but no witnesses came forward. The last time Anna was known to have made contact was with her mother and sister on December 31st, making her husband the last person to see her. Surveillance footage from the neighborhood provided no leads, as Anna was not seen leaving her home on January 1st. However, Brian was captured on camera, leaving and returning multiple times, though his destinations were unclear. His claim of visiting a supermarket was proven false, as there was no evidence of his presence there. It wasn't until January 8th that Brian was arrested for providing false statements and brought in for questioning, while his home was finally searched. It was discovered that on January 1st he had visited a hardware store in a different area, purchasing a large amount of cleaning supplies, plastic sheeting, duct tape, a mop and bucket, and utility rags, totaling nearly $500. He paid in cash, possibly hoping to go unnoticed. Upon initial inspection, nothing unusual or suspicious was found in the home. Everything appeared to be in order, with no signs of a struggle or bloodstains. However, when law enforcement officers went into the basement, it became clear that a heinous crime had taken place. Bloodstains were visible throughout the basement, and a bloodied knife and saw were hidden among the clutter. Earlier, Walshy had admitted to visiting his mother's house on January 3rd, claiming he had broken his house arrest conditions to help her with household tasks. But after the disturbing discoveries in the basement, police suspected that he may have disposed of evidence or parts of his deceased wife's body on his way there. Trash bins along the route to his mother's house were inspected, leading to the discovery of a kitchen hatchet with dried blood and blood-stained towels, similar to those found in Walshy's basement. Forensic analysis confirmed that the blood belonged to the missing Anna, confirming her demise. Search history on electronic devices, seized from Walshy's home, revealed disturbing intentions, as he had been researching favorable states for divorce and claiming ownership of Anna's second home in Washington, D.C. This provided a possible motive for the crime. On January 18th, Brian was officially charged with the murder of his wife, even though her body had not been found. Prosecutors believe that on the night of January 1st, Brian intentionally or accidentally killed his wife, and then disposed of her body by cutting it up in the basement of their home. He then put the body parts in plastic bags and threw them in trash bins around the city. The area near the Walshes' house and surrounding areas were searched for evidence, including wastelands, wooded areas, and bodies of water, but nothing was found. Brian pleaded not guilty and refused to say what he did with the body. The trial is ongoing, and Brian is in jail, awaiting his next court date. The Walshes' 3 sons are in state custody, as no family members are willing to care for them. Thank you for watching, everyone. What do you think of today's story? Write your opinion about this case. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon to stay updated on new stories from around the world. See you soon. Take care.